All right, Infiniti says this is the car that is leading them into a new era. I have concerns, and I have areas that are actually rather nice. This is the all-new Infiniti QX55. So let's start off with the looks and why this is shaped the way it is. So sporty coupe-like looking SUVs are kind of en vogue right now. So Infiniti is jumping on that train and making a coupe-ified version of its QX50. That's how we land at the QX55. Certain angles are good, other angles are tough. There are treatments that I like. Some of the shoulder line work is nice, the taillights look pretty good, but overall this stubby cab forward nature of this thing doesn't really work for me, and it's funny because if it had the traditional roof line, it looks fine. QX50 looks fine. Infiniti says they've drawn inspiration from the older FX for this, and in the taillights is literally the only place I see it. Maybe the hood bulge as well, but that is a cab rearward design. This is a cab forward design. Those two worlds do not collide. They just don't. So I really wish they hadn't mentioned that the FX was an inspiration for this, because I just start to go, huh? Now, slide in the inside though, this is a pretty nice cabin space here. It's comfortable. I fit in the back seat, even behind myself. There's some nice, real nice design work here. Everything you see and touch feels good. This like flat looking wood here is a nice touch with aluminum trim. The Bose speaker grills look great. And then the steering wheel feels really nice in your hand as well. And then the dual stitching of the leather is nice. We start to fall apart though in the center stack. Infiniti is running this dual screen situation, 8-inch up top, 7-inch on the bottom. And the funny thing is that they're not the same type of screen, whereas the graphic display of the bottom screen is crazy good. It's really crisp. It's like a 4K TV and 1080 up top. And those don't play nicely anymore. What they should do is either use two of the same types of screen or make it one large screen like what Tesla and Ford are doing. I think that would make much more sense. Or Volvo, even like if this was the same shape as Volvo stack, we'd be in a much better place here using the graphic content of the lower screen. But the nice thing is this does have wireless Apple CarPlay, so you put CarPlay up top and you deal with the nicer screen for the nav and stuff on the bottom if you want to do that. And then you're good to go. And this also has a very crisp, easy to read head-up display. I can see it right now even with my polarized sunglasses on. It looks much better without them, but it does not completely disappear with the sunglasses, which is important. And I like head-up displays. I like having the speedo right there, the information displayed nice and neatly to me. The seat is comfortable. The cabin space, for it being a coupe-shaped SUV, is well done. The rear seat moves a bit, which is also nice to get you better room, and then for cargo room they fold flat, so it still has the utility that you need to, and that's important. That's good. So what are we doing for power? Well, under the hood we have a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. It's the VC turbo engine, which means variable compression. Yes, this engine actually adjusts the compression ratio. It's making 268 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque, which is fine for, just a daily commuter vehicle. Putting that power out to the wheels is a CVT. Infiniti is trying to do a decent job of masking that fact by building in some fake shifts. You can actually hold gear ratios too, because it does have paddles behind the steering wheel. So you click it down into 4th and it'll stay there. Hold it, put it back into drive mode. And there is a drive mode selector. They call it D mode. I'm juvenile, so my mind goes to dumb places. But there's an eco, a normal, a sport, and then a personalization mode. And that does engine responsiveness, gearbox, how it holds gears, quote unquote, and steering heft. Just popped it into sport, and this thing handles kind of oddly, to be totally honest. I like the Infiniti Intelligent All-Wheel Drive system because it's a rear-based system. So in normal driving, 100% of the power is sent to the rear wheels, and then it flows forth as needed. The problem I have though is that the steering on the QX55 is just not very communicative. So you have the all-wheel drive system that's trying to have you have some fun, and then the steering system is kind of like sending mixed signals where it doesn't know what to do with what the all-wheel drive system is doing. So it feels like there's moments where it wants to settle and almost go into an oversteer type state, and then the steering is just like, so it's a weird experience. Now, in just standard driving, it's not something you notice, but if you happen to be on, say, a curvy canyon road, then it makes itself apparent. But the chassis, though, feels lively and up to the task of having a bit of fun. So like right there, it's like mid-corner, you get to a point, and then it's like the all-wheel drive system wants to sit like, nah, bro, keep going, send it. And the steering's like, we're just gonna go on this path. So it's an interesting sensation for sure. But like I was saying, in just standard driving, the thing is fine. The cabin is quiet enough that the buzziness of the CVT doesn't really get to you. Unless you're flooring it, then it's like, oh, right. That's what's happening there. But you can just turn up the audio system and kind of blur that out. I don't know if you can hear that right there. Mid-corner, it's holding a gear ratio. Revs are at like 3,500, so that's when you're getting some of the Now, if you don't want to focus on driving this thing and say you're on the highway, you can hit the button on the steering wheel here. There's a little blue button with some loops around it, and that's the Infiniti ProPilot Assist system, which is essentially smart cruise control. In terms of, following distance to the car in front of you, keeps you in your lane, maintains your speed, will come to a complete stop if traffic in front of you comes to a complete stop. And it works pretty well. I felt like it was a little jarring on the freeway when I was driving to this road where as soon as it had the chance to accelerate, it kind of floored it to get back up to speed. And sometimes it was a little harsh on the braking, but that could be me because I had it in the closest following distance. So I have to experiment and try it without that. And then the lane keeping, the steering, was a little ping-pongy at times in the lane, but not terrible, and it handled curves well enough on top of that. But now, turn all that off. Obviously, we don't need that. We're on a canyon road. We're gonna try to have a little bit of fun. And it's hard not to have fun with the system, like I said, all-wheel drive, rear-based. The brakes are good once you step deep enough into the travel to really get them to start clamping, but then when they do their job nicely. It has a decent footprint overall because this does have 20-inch wheels. That comes standard. The all-wheel drive system is standard. They're throwing a lot of things at this that the QX50 you have to option up to. They figure if you're spending the money for the shape of the QX55, they might as well throw a few more things at it. Yeah, there's just a weird dance between the steering, lack of communication, and then an all-wheel drive system that kind of wants to party. And I can't fault an all-wheel drive system that wants to do that. I just wish it had a steering system that was up to the task of joining in the fun. Because, there's a good bit of roll as well, but again, this is not like a performance version of this car. This is not a QX55 Red Sport. So it needs to be comfortable on a daily basis, and that's why I can get it to roll. See, I wish I knew what the steering wanted to do right then, because again, it feels like it wants to swap a little bit in a fun way. I think it's trying to do it in a fun way. Rear-based all-wheel drive systems are great all-wheel drive systems, so I imagine there is some fun to be had if you could tune this maybe a little bit better. One quick note while I have your attention. If you don't already subscribe to this channel, I would appreciate it if you could do that. And then if you feel like getting a new shirt or some stickers, you should head to blipshift.com/Hooniverse because we've got some cool shirts up there. We've got some stickers. If you put some stickers on your vehicle, I would love to see that. Send the photos to me at HooniverseJeff on Instagram, and I will try to repost it and do all that fun stuff. And that's it. Yeah, if you could do that, I would appreciate it. And if you can't, you know what? Whatever. It's your world, and we're all just just living in it anyway. But thanks for watching the video. See ya. Get back to it now. Bye. Good. If you could revise the steering tuning, get some nice sticky rubber on there, and stiffen up the suspension, which would be a nice option if it had adaptive suspension, which would obviously increase the cost and all that stuff. I think this chassis then could be set up for some really entertaining driving. I would like to experience one of these on a racetrack, so you have some safety limits to push it, to see what it would really do with the rear end. To, you know, if you're really on it, I'm not going to do that here, obviously, but I feel like you're hitting limits, and I want to explore those limits a bit further, and I need a racetrack to do that. So let's dive into the price of these. This starts at $46.5, I believe, for the base trim, and the base trim is pretty fully loaded. It's a higher level of trim than the base trim on the QX50. They started off with the Luxe trim, then it goes to Essential and Sensory. This is a fully loaded Sensory, and it is 58 grand. And there's a Bobcat. You want to see a Bobcat? Can you see that? Little Bobcat chilling in the road. That's cool. Hopefully it doesn't get hit by a car. I'm gonna see if I can, I just changed the camera angle on this, but I'm gonna see if I can get a little picture of the Bobcat, so, you know, bear with me here. Nature! Glad it's not a mountain lion. We have those where I ride my mountain bike usually. The most often is closed right now because of mountain lion activity, and that sucks. So the spread on this is mid 40s to high 50s, just about touching 60. And this one is, I mean, I can't see what options you would need to add to this. I'm sure there are things you can add to it, but I don't see the options that you would need to add. This is pretty fully loaded and has anything you could want. It's nice. The red paint is nice on the outside. For what you get, it is a nice vehicle. However, I think that some of the competition might be slightly ahead. Like, I would not pick this over an Acura RDX. Now, the flip side to this, what I'm saying here is that I don't like coupe-shaped SUVs, so I'm coming into this biased. There are people who love these and they are selling well. I saw an e-tron Sportback today, which is crazy to me because the e-tron is cheaper and I like the shape of that one better. So you're paying a premium for the shape, but at least Infiniti is throwing more options at you. Like I said, standard all-wheel drive, standard 20-inch wheels, standard wireless Apple CarPlay. If you want to do Android Auto, I believe that has to be wired. This has a, you know, the upgraded Bose system. I don't think the sound system is that impressive. I have yet to meet a Bose system that I go, wow, that's pretty good. There's not as much separation on other high-end systems. Like, again, back to the Acura with their ELS stuff is fantastic. Even Ford's B&O system feels a step above this. Which I think is technically, might even be, I'm trying to remember it because it's not, even though it's B&O, it's not, whatever. I'll figure that out later. That's not what this one's about. So, is this a good machine? It's fine. It's fine. I wish it didn't have a CVT. I think it's priced well for a premium vehicle with tons of options and actually a really nicely done interior. The interior space is great. Though, I wish Infiniti would have said the vehicle bringing them into the new era is the QX60. That looks like it's going to be fantastic. That looks like it harkens back to the FX more properly, and that just seems like it's going to have more presence to it. It's going to be bigger, it's going to be more expensive, but I'm far more interested in the QX60 than I am in the QX55. So, are my biases playing into this of not liking coupe-shaped SUVs? Probably, sure, but I don't know, the weird steering dynamic, the combination of the CVT, those don't really work for me. I actually don't mind the power. It was fine. And the person using this is going to be totally happy with 280 pound-feet of torque shuffling through traffic. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but that's how I stand on it. Exterior styling, don't love it. The paintwork is great, and there are some decent elements. On the inside, the cabin is wonderfully done, minus the weird screen thing. Driving dynamics, the all-wheel drive system feels very entertaining, whereas the steering does not back that up. And then the engine, 268 horse, 280 torque, it's fine. It's fine for average driving, everyday driving. This is not a sports car. It works. And then I think it's priced well for a premium crossover. That's, you know, that's how much cars cost. The fact that this, you can get it for under 60 or potentially low 50s, depending on which trim you get, is fine. I would buy the RDX personally, but I hope to see these on the road because I don't want Infiniti to go away. But if you're thinking about buying one of these and you don't have kids, that's fine, even though they can fit back there. But if you do have kids, wait for the QX60. There you go. That's where I'm at. And then if Infiniti does want to do a red sport version of these, I'm happy to test that as well. Thanks. So let's talk price. These start around $46,000. Let me just confirm that because I'm an idiot and I could be wrong, but I think that's right.